Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is July 20th, 2023. I'm here finally back in Colorado. I've been traveling a bit. I was just in Edinburgh with many of you. Before that, I was in Papua New Guinea, and it's been a wild ride the last 60 days. I think I'm getting old. White's coming in the beard. But it was actually really wonderful to engage with the community at the Capstone 1694 workshop. And it was really a roll up of the commentary of over 1,000 people from 50 different workshops, about half virtual, half in person throughout the world. What we learned from the process is that we continue to have probably the best community of any cryptocurrency. And there's a lot of alignment on the idea of minimum viable governance and a lot of amazing ideas about how do we take minimum viable governance, build something functional, and move it to something the community can then use to transform Cardano into something that engages as many people as possible in its community, as opposed to a subset of that. Now, Node 8.2 is near imminent, and it's carrying with it SanchoNet. So what we broke down is a series of milestones in SanchoNet that will flesh out a full implementation of 1694, allowing people to test what it's like being a DREP, submitting a constitutional update, writing custom code for DREPs, including smart contracts and managing multiple users as a DREP, build political parties, software like dashboards, accountability software, a whole bunch of things. And so it's going to be a very vibrant summer. And a lot of stuff is going to happen. And there's some great community events like Rare Evo and CNFTCon that are going to be events we attend, but also the community attends. And there's a lot of opportunity to kind of parse and discuss learnings from that testnet. At some point, there'll be community-wide vote for ratification of 1694. And then it's just a matter of what level of quality assurance is required to do a hard fork should the community decide this is what they want to do. Now, there's a lot of things that have also launched. For example, major changes to Catalyst, the Intersect organization, which is the members-based organization we keep talking about. Already 150 people have joined it. And throughout the summer, there's going to be a lot of grants coming out of the new Dev Trust for Cardano, and a lot of elaboration about how that works. So in the process of this, there's a boatload of people who are coming out of the woodworks, both in a positive sense and a negative sense, expressing opinions about where we should go, what we should do, what's legitimate, what's illegitimate. And that's exactly what should be expected because people are growing up. The ecosystem is growing up. And we've entered a new era of Cardano where there are many voices, and those voices are going to have to find a way to compromise, agree with each other. Now, the good news is we predicted as a project this state, and it's a healthy one. And so a lot of the institutions that have been put into place and discussion mechanisms that were put into place, I think will be invaluable for the community to get to a point where we converge as opposed to diverge, and we're able to move forward. For example, the workshops that were held in 1694 followed a very tight moderator pattern that a lot of people agreed was very productive to actually have meaningful conversations and give people the right to be heard, a super important thing. So those skills and techniques are not a one-off for a particular workshop, or now belong to a very large set of the governance community in Cardano to use for their own workshops and their own dialogue and discourse. Now, the other thing that's been happening is that we've done a really good job of speeding up development. You may have noticed that there's been several major releases of things, like, for example, Mithril, and it's starting to work its way to mainnet. And we just made an announcement there. Hydra's still moving at an extraordinary pace. The development of Cardano Node, now that we're on the 8.x, is moving very quickly. Lace has a monthly release cycle, and we've already gotten to version 1.3. 1.4 is on the horizon here in just a little bit. So because of this release cadence, we're starting to actually see a lot of really cool features coming. For example, BLS support in Plutus is on the horizon. There's a lot of really cool things to announce second half of this year about the sidechain strategy and what will come to play. So IO as an engineering firm has finally found, I think, a healthy balance of rigor and formalism. For example, with the Conway era will be the very first era of Cardano to move to a full, true formal specification with code extraction. So we actually have an AGDA specification of the Voltaire ledger logic. And we can extract from that Haskell code and compare it to the production system. So from a testing viewpoint with constraint satisfaction testing, model checking, property-based testing, there's never been a more rigorous but yet effective and efficient time to participate. So there's a lot of great progress in these types of things, but then there's also been a lot of great progress in workflow. The new PI system that runs quarterly is moving over to Intersect, the members-based organization. So we have tribes within our development teams, like the Sidechains tribe, the Core Ledger team, Voltaire tribe, Smart Contracts tribes. And what we can do is mirror the leadership structure as committees at the members-based organization, Intersect, and Intersect can manage those committees. We can join them, but members of the community can also join them, which means that when you sum up what they do, they write the product backlog that gets executed on a quarterly basis, which means the product backlog actually turns into a full open source program. And we've learned a lot about how to do this in practice from projects like Hydra, for example, which have a very high level of community participation and a pretty agile, high volume process. Some things are going to have to be migrated from Jira to GitHub and to other open project management systems. And that's going to be some of the growing pains as the repositories move from the input-output repositories to the Intersect repositories, and people become contributors. The good news is that there's never been a better time to participate in the development of Cardano. For example, when we had our workshops in Edinburgh, there were 5 different sets of them. One involved inviting members of the community to come together to design a SIP for wallet integration for voting tools, SIP 95. It's being co-designed with the wallet makers. And we all worked together, had a hackathon, and an enormous amount of progress got made very quickly to avoid the mistakes made with the rollout of SIP 30, which was very nice. But unfortunately, because of version differences, it created incompatibilities and made it real hard for a lot of people to deploy a wallet that worked with all the wallets, and people had to work around. Very similar to mistakes Internet Explorer 6 made with the implementation of the CSS standard, and where you had to actually break your sheets for them to work. That got fixed, but it was painful to fix, and we want to avoid that, with future SIPs. And it was really cool to see the community come together and co-author, co-write that standard, move very quickly for voting tools that can be useful for SanchoNet, eventually the mainnet. So it's a new dawn for collaboration and for interoperability integration. And a lot of projects are starting to get elevated, and there's a lot of diversity forming. This AGDA specification, for example, at some point it's going to work its way through the totality of Cardano, and then the sum of that would actually be one set of blueprints to show the canonical design of Cardano. What that functionally means is, for the first time ever, we'd have an end-to-end specification, which is implementation independent, that can be used for third parties to build competing clients for Cardano, which is a major milestone forward, but do so in a way where those clients can enjoy similar quality to what people have enjoyed with Cardano itself in the Haskell sense. So I would love to see a Rust and a TypeScript client, for example, but a lot of work has to be done to get us to that moment. And we've already taken a major leap forward to facilitate that. And the governance of Cardano can make priorities and decide whether it makes sense to move towards a polyglot ecosystem, amongst many other things to do. Our role is really moving towards